All right, let's dive into a classic tech war. This is the story of how a product that was, by pretty much all accounts, technically better, got completely steamrolled by a rival with a totally different playbook. And this isn't just a history lesson about databases, it's a masterclass in strategy that is just as relevant today. And this quote right here, it just nails the central mystery. How in the world did Paradox, this powerful, elegant tool that developers loved, lose so completely to Microsoft Access? To find the answer, we have to go back to the battlefield of the 1990s desktop software wars. So, to really get this, we've got to set the scene. We're in the early 1990s, and the software world has this undisputed champion, a company called Borland. Seriously, these guys seemed unstoppable. They were the scrappy underdog who had already taken down some of the biggest names in the business. And let me tell you, Borland absolutely earned that giant slayer reputation. They took down Ashton Tate's DBase, which was a huge deal back then. Plus, they had won over the hearts and minds of developers everywhere with legendary tools like Turbo Pascal. Everyone saw them as the innovators, the next big thing. And sitting right at the center of this Borland empire was their crown jewel, the weapon they were counting on to win the whole database war, a product called Paradox. Now, Paradox wasn't just another program. By just about every technical measure, it was simply the better product. Developers raved about it. It had this clean interface, real relational power. It was fast, reliable. It was the obvious choice for any professional who wanted the absolute best tool for the job. But, while Borland was busy publishing its trophies and basking in the love from its developers, Microsoft was in the background, quietly building its own weapon, and it was based on a strategy that was completely different. See, Microsoft's big plan wasn't to out-engineer Paradox. No way. Their plan was to make their own database completely unavoidable. They launched Access in '92, and right away they bundled it with Microsoft Office. It was built right into Windows, and crucially, it wasn't made for expert developers. It was made for the average business user, with simple wizards and friendly tools. It was a strategy built entirely on convenience. So this really wasn't a battle of features. It was a total clash of philosophies. On one hand, you had Borland, who bet everything on technical elegance. They wanted to be the best-in-class tool for the pros. On the other hand, you had Microsoft, and they bet on something totally different: ecosystem integration and just being good enough for pretty much everyone. And this fundamental difference in thinking, well, it set the stage for a war that Borland was never going to win. Now, of course, Borland tried to fight back. They ran ads, they published benchmarks showing Paradox's superior speed and power. They were trying to fight the battle on the one field where they knew they had the advantage: technical merit. But here's the thing. The battle wasn't happening in a lab. It was happening in corporate offices all over the world. And in those offices, the people making the decisions, the IT managers, the department heads, they were choosing the path of least resistance. They picked the tool that came bundled with Office and worked perfectly with Windows, even if it wasn't technically the best. The war was being fought on Microsoft's home turf. For Borland, the result of this strategic mismatch was, well, it was fast and it was brutal. It was nothing less than the fall of a titan. The speed at which the market shifted is just shocking. Think about it. In the early 90s, Borland is on top of the world. But just a couple of years after Access hits the scene, Paradox's market share is just gone. It's decimated. By the end of the decade, Paradox was basically a historical footnote. Now, to be fair, Borland didn't help its own cause. They made some huge mistakes. They got distracted buying up other big software companies, which pulled their attention and their money away from the database war at the exact wrong moment. And at the same time, their core audience, the developers, started to drift away, either to Access for simple stuff or to bigger systems like SQL Server. So, after all that, what is the big lesson we can take away from the death of a product that was arguably just plain better? It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's one of the most important lessons in the history of technology. The best tech doesn't always win. Being technically superior is absolutely no guarantee of survival, let alone success. At the end of the day, it's simple. Paradox was the better database, but Microsoft Access had the better strategy. It rode the wave of its unstoppable Windows and Office ecosystem. It had the full force of Microsoft's marketing machine behind it, and it just gained this incredible momentum that made it the default, easy choice for businesses everywhere. And that brings us right up to today. This story from the past leaves us with a really critical question for right now. In a world dominated by these massive, tightly controlled ecosystems from Apple, from Google, from Amazon, Is that platform power even stronger now than it was in the 90s? Does the best, most innovative product still have a fighting chance?